Hello everyone, and welcome back. In our last lecture, we explored the mechanisms of action in hypnotherapy. What happens in a session, from induction to post-hypnotic suggestion. Today, we're going to peek inside the brain and body to understand how hypnosis actually works at the neural level. Thanks to advances in functional imaging, things like fMRI, PET scans, EEG, and measures of autonomic activity, we now have much clearer insights into what's going on when someone enters a hypnotic state. Brain networks in hypnosis. Let's start with the big picture. Hypnosis is not located in one single hypnosis center in the brain. Instead, it involves shifts across multiple networks that regulate attention, self-awareness, and emotional processing. Default Mode Network, DMN. This network is active when we're daydreaming, self-reflecting, or thinking about ourselves. In hypnosis, activity in the DMN decreases. This quiets the chatter of self-critical thought and allows for more focused, immersive experience. Salience Network, SN. This network helps us notice what's important, like sudden sounds or emotional signals. Under hypnosis, the salience network becomes more active and more connected. That means the brain is primed to pick up on the therapist's suggestions as meaningful. Executive Control Network, ECN. The ECN governs decision-making and top-down control. In hypnosis, it shows enhanced regulation, allowing for selective focus, paying attention to some things while ignoring others, like pain or intrusive thoughts. Sensory Motor Network, SMN. This network controls movement and bodily sensations. Hypnosis can shift activity here, which explains why people can feel numbness, heaviness, or lightness in their limbs during trance. In other words, hypnosis reorganizes how these networks talk to each other, lowering self-criticism, heightening focus, and shifting perception of the body. EEG findings. Electroencephalography, or EEG, has also revealed fascinating changes in brainwave activity during hypnosis. Increased theta waves, often linked with deep relaxation, creativity, and memory processes. Altered alpha activity, associated with calm focus and internal attention. Shifts in beta rhythms, reflecting changes in alertness and control. In highly hypnotizable individuals, these EEG patterns are more pronounced, suggesting that their brains are naturally more capable of entering these altered states. Autonomic nervous system modulation. Hypnosis doesn't just affect the brain, it also shifts the autonomic nervous system, which governs bodily functions outside of conscious control. There's often a reduction in sympathetic activity, meaning less fight or flight activation, and an increase in parasympathetic activity, the rest and digest system that brings calm, slows the heart rate, and deepens breathing. This explains why hypnosis can be so effective for stress-related disorders, insomnia, and physical conditions like irritable bowel syndrome or migraines. The body itself is moving into a calmer, more regulated state. Memory reconsolidation. Another fascinating finding is how hypnosis interacts with memory reconsolidation. When we recall a memory, it briefly becomes malleable, open to change, before being stored again. Hypnosis seems to enhance this process. In trauma therapy, this means a traumatic memory can be reactivated in hypnosis, but then paired with corrective suggestions, new emotional experiences, or alternative meanings. The memory doesn't vanish, but its emotional intensity can be reduced, making it less distressing over time. This is a powerful mechanism for trauma recovery, executive control, and suggestibility. Finally, let's touch on executive control. Imaging studies suggest that hypnosis increases connectivity between the salience network and executive control network. That means people are better able to focus on what matters, like the therapist's voice, and filter out distractions. One influential model, called cold control theory, argues that hypnosis works because people can suppress their metacognitive awareness. In other words, they stop constantly analyzing whether something is real or imagined and simply accept the experience. This reduced self-monitoring increases responsiveness to suggestion. Key takeaways. So, to summarize today's lecture, hypnosis alters activity in major brain networks, reducing self-focused DMN activity while enhancing salience and executive control. EEG studies show increased theta and alpha rhythms, supporting relaxation and absorption. The autonomic nervous system shifts toward parasympathetic dominance, lowering stress and arousal. Hypnosis enhances memory reconsolidation, allowing traumatic memories to be reprocessed with new associations. Suggestibility is linked to changes in executive control and reduced self-monitoring. In our next lecture, we'll shift from the lab to the clinic. We'll review key clinical trials that have tested hypnotherapy for trauma, insomnia, and PTSD, and we'll see what the evidence says about its real-world effectiveness.